the 13th Part 4, the final chapter. Yeah, right! Friday the 13th Part 4 is considered by many fans of the series to be one of the best ones, if not the best one. I almost agree in some ways. This is when the series was still taken a little bit, seriously, I guess. I mean, if you want to consider Jason Voorhees still coming back from the dead after having an axe lodged into his head, and this is before he became a freaking zombie. So it's this movie that the franchise is taking into a little bit of a different direction. It's still basically the same thing. They're stupid teenagers who are having sex, drugs, jerks, all that really fun jazz. But there's a little kid in this movie now, played by Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman's character in this movie he's just kind of like your normal average boy who is obsessed with monsters and all that kind of stuff, and he likes to create his own masks and scary stuff and whatnot. And he's a really identifiable kid character. I mean, you can look at him and say, you know what, I was kind of like him when I was a kid. I mean, depending on who you are, I guess. So this movie basically starts off the same way as all the other Friday the 13th movies. Somehow Jason is still alive, he winds up escaping from wherever the heck he's escaping from. In this case it's a hospital, where he winds up killing two of the hospital workers. And then, he's back to his normal, killing spree, just because reasons, even though at this point, everyone who has ever been involved with his mother's death is definitely dead at this point. Jason is still roaming around the woods, just randomly killing people, and the story takes a little bit of a change because this is the movie where honestly the teenagers have a little bit more personality to them, and I really like that. I mean, the movie has Crispin Glover in it. That's right, Marty's dad from Back to the Future is in a Friday the 13th movie. And he's the most relatable out of all the bad teenagers. He just wants to have a happy relationship where he just has a nice girl and all that. And of course, yes, he wants sex, but you feel a little bit sorry for him when he dies because he just wants to be happy. But of course, he's going about it in the wrong way. So of course, he has to die. Sorry, plot spoilers. He winds up finding the teens and starts knocking them off one by one.
Oh yeah, here comes Kool-Aid, here comes Kool-Aid, I'm gonna save the day. Here comes Kool-Aid, I'm gonna chase your thirst away.
The final girl goes around with a hunter who apparently has been trying to hunt down Jason Voorhees for a few days now, apparently, since the second movie, because his sister was in the second movie, apparently. And they're going around the cabins trying to look for Jason Voorhees. Unfortunately, the guy dies. Sorry, dude. And Trish, who plays the final girl in this movie, fights back against Jason plenty of times, trying to protect her brother at this point, because, actually, they can't even find their mother. Their mother winds up getting killed, but she gets killed off screen. So Corey Feldman winds up finding out who the hunter was trying to hunt throughout the entirety of the movie. He finds a bunch of news articles and all that. I don't really know what was going through his head. I mean, I guess he's a smart kid and he just thought he would psychologically mess with Jason. He basically winds up shaving his head, puts on a ton of makeup, and he winds up confronting Jason like this.
Jason! Jason, don't you remember? Remember, Jason?
Now, this is not a bad scene. It's actually a very intriguing scene. But it's not really that, touched upon because Jason is just a mindless killer who somehow easily gets distracted of memories of his childhood, which I guess is sort of understandable since, he had this huge connection with his mother and he's kind of now just become this raging, rampaging monster. Trish winds up knocking his mask off, inserting the machete into his head, and then he falls on the ground dead. Or at least we think. Jason makes a little twitch where Corey's character thinks, holy crap, he's still alive. So what does he do? He freaking slices the freaking crap out of him. Anyway, after that very traumatic moment for him, we see Trish and her brother inside of the hospital where they're updated on the killer and all that, and police update her that her brother's okay. Basically, the movie ends with him creepishly staring at the camera, almost like he's going to be the next Jason Voorhees or the next killer. Which, we're just like, no, why are you opening it up again for a bloody sequel? I mean, I'm very happy there's going to be another sequel. Yay! I do have to say, this movie was more enjoyable than the third one, and even the second one. We now have Jason in his prime wearing the hockey mask, and, you know, his kills are always entertaining in many ways, if you're darkly humorous that way. And the characters are far more interesting compared to any of the other freaking movies. They're actually identifiable. They're just a bunch of kids wanting to have fun. They aren't just like random horny teenagers or stuff like that. They actually have feelings, conflicts, and all that kind of stuff. It is done in a short time span, so you don't really fully get to know them, but in the short time span that you do spend with the teenagers, you do in some ways actually get to know who they are and their wants and desires in life. And of course, Corey Feldman as the little boy in the movie, he does such a good job. His acting is pretty dang good. His character was very interesting. Overall, I thought this was a pretty good entry in the Friday the 13th franchise. Well, that's it for today. Stay tuned for part 5. This has been the Valley of Death, where everything is spooky, but we keep things light. I'll see you guys later.